Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Bruce Buffington, your host of the show. Here with me is Ann Morrow, my co-host. These shows focus on cycling in general and bicycle safety in particular. We air live on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. on Channel 11. You can view the replays on Channel 23, and at least one replay will air on Channel 11. I would like to extend a special thanks to Monto's Public House for providing the meal for our show crew volunteers. Our guest is Timo Forsberg, City of Portland's Office of Transportation's Education and Outreach Specialist. We will be discussing Portland, a great city to bicycle in, simple choices about your cycling activity, how to prepare for your cycling experience when riding in Portland, and the success of the brown bag lunches. We will also have a 4-minute movie on moving your entire household by bicycle. Much of the information discussed here tonight can be obtained by connecting to the City of Portland's Office of Transportation website. The website will appear on your TV screen periodically throughout the show. Timo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And it's nice to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Can we start out by you telling our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Ann Morrow, and I'm very involved with the Portland Wheelmen, the Portland Bicycle Club. I've been a member since 1992, and I organize family rides and welcome rides, trying to organize rides for the more novice riders. So that's pretty much my objective, and I'm also the editor of the Quick Releases, the club's newsletter.
So there's all kinds of things that you're involved with bicycling, and what do you do for a living?
I work as a paralegal in a law office.
So we have people who cycle, and they're from all walks of life, aren't they?
Right.
Well, Timo, you're the Education and Outreach Specialist. What do you do?
Well, I work for a division of the Office of Transportation called Transportation Options. And many people know the Office of Transportation builds roads, repairs potholes, puts in street lighting. Our division works to help people use the system that's already in place as efficiently as possible. And what that means is we encourage people to use all sorts of options to get around. So riding in his car is very, very popular. Many people know how to do that. We also encourage walking, biking, riding transit, carpooling, using FlexCar, all the different options that there are for getting around the city. And hopefully, folks will find that they both save money, that they have an easier time parking, and that they feel more healthy by making more choices than just driving alone.
Now, how do you encourage people to use these efficient transports? I mean, what kind of things do you do?
Well, we have a series of activities, but perhaps the biggest program that we do is called Smart Trips, and it's a comprehensive series of mailing, outreach, activities, classes, rides, a whole package of things. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So personally, I lead rides, I do outreach at community events. I also work on our materials. We produce several kinds of maps, which I would be happy to show off. We have a bike map here. This is an example of our neighborhood bike maps. We have a series of maps that we do both the whole city and then each individual neighborhood in Portland that gives more detail.
If I could interrupt just for a moment, you mentioned something, lead rides. Now, both of you guys lead rides in Portland. Do you have anything to do with the rides that he leads?
No, I think there's so many bicyclists that there's just a lot of different kinds of rides that we're just trying to meet all the different target markets. You know, he's trying to show people how easy it is to get around Portland by bike in large part, and I'm trying to show kids and adults how they can ride in a group and how they can be safe and that sort of thing.
So in leading rides, what are you talking about? What type of rides are you looking at for the most part?
Well, the rides that I lead are called the Portland Bicycle Rides, and they're primarily targeted at adults who either haven't ridden in a while, perhaps they rode when they were kids, and when they got their driver's license, they suddenly forgot how much fun it is to use a bike. Or maybe they've never ridden and they're just starting out. or then maybe they're new to town and don't realize some of the ways to get around. One of the things we find is a lot of folks, learn to get around by driving and know the streets that are helpful to drive on, but those can be intimidating sometimes for bicyclists because they're often high traffic streets. And so one of the things that our maps do, and also our guided rides, is to help folks make good choices, realizing that there are plenty of neighborhood streets that are lower traffic, very pleasant to ride on, and it can make getting from point A to point B a pleasure as opposed to a challenge.
Now, you also mentioned walks and classes related to those. Is that the walks and then the walks and ride classes? How does that work?
Well, we don't have classes for walking specifically because many folks comes naturally to them. We do have guided walks both for the general public called the 10-Toe Express walks, and we also have special walks for seniors. They're a shorter and slower paced walk called senior strolls. And both of those are meant to encourage folks to get out. They have a different theme each week. This year, because we're focusing in Southeast Portland, Reed College was kind enough to host us, so we have walks through their campus. We have walks through Selwood. We have walks that look at different kinds of architecture. So, topics that get people interested in getting out, and then once they get out and start walking, they realize, places might be closer than they think. One of the things we're trying to do is encourage folks to think of both walking and biking as ways to get what they need done. Many people, they have to get to work in the morning, might work to do a walk or a bike for that, but they might have to drive. But going to the store to pick up some milk or taking your kids to the daycare, those are things that you might be able to do without the car, and you'll find how fun it is to be out in the open air, to get to see your neighbors, and to get to spend some quality time with your family.
Now, you mentioned seniors. The standard for senior citizen is age 55 to 65, and then over 65 is elderly. What group are you referring to? What age?
Well, basically anyone who wants to go for a low impact, moderately paced walk qualifies. We do have folks in their 70s and some in their 80s. So, everyone is welcome.
So the areas that you are really involved in would be the smart trips is one thing that you mentioned. And so is there a website for that smart trips?
Yes, I encourage everyone to check our website. The website address is www.gettingaroundportland.org. And as a matter of fact, one of my jobs is to try to make that usable for folks, so I'm always interested in hearing if people who go to the website are able to find out what they need, and if not, I encourage them to send me an email or give me a call, and I'll be happy to update it.
Now, Ann, have you ever visited that website, or are you familiar with that at all?
Yes, I refer to that website now and then. It is really helpful to know what the City of Portland's doing and just checking out their website. And I really love his summer bicycle rides, so I like to keep an eye on what's going on with those.
And I just mentioned, thank you for cueing me, that you can find a schedule for all the rides and walks on the website. And there are also links to the maps that we produce, so you can actually download a PDF version of the map, or you can email us and suggest that you'd like us to mail one out to you by postal service.
Now, in addition to the smart trips, Portland by Bikes, or Bikes by Bicycle, get it out. You have Women on Bikes, which we'll talk about more later, but can you just kind of give us a real quick snapshot? What do you mean by Women on Bikes?
Well, what we found when we were doing counts of who is biking is that women are underrepresented. Generally about a third of the cyclists in the city are women. And so we realized that it may take some special kind of efforts to help women feel comfortable getting on a bike. And so we found that the Women on Bikes series, which is both classes, covering everything from how to change a flat tire to how to choose a good route, to how to pick a bicycle or carry groceries, that sort of thing. And then also the Women on Bikes rides, which are a series of fun-paced, bike rides just for women. It really helps build confidence and knowledge.
So, Ann, have you been involved with this program at all?
I haven't been involved with those in particular, but I can sure see a need. I think a lot of women find it too intimidating to be with a bunch of guys, just like a gym membership or something like that. A lot of women want they just want to be with other women. They don't want to worry about any other kind of interaction, and to have these exclusively for women, I think, is an excellent idea, and I understand it gets a lot of good response, and women, like you say, are learning how to change the tires on their bike and be independent.
Now, we had a show where REI had 2 women that came on, and they're from a Women on Bikes program, but it seems to be their own. No connection there? Totally different program, would you think?
Well, Janice McDonald, who is the staff person at Office of Transportation Options, makes connections with a wide variety of people. So there are bike shops out there that also have women's rides. She has put together a resource guide which lists a whole series of rides, classes, not just by the City of Portland, but also by other organizations. The Wheelman's rides are listed in there. So it's a very handy piece. You can get that. And I would suggest, even if you don't happen to be a woman, you might want to order a copy of that, because there's lots of great information in there.
We have a caller, so we can continue with that. We're having a little difficulty with the phone, but caller, can you state your name?
Lori?
And what is your question or comment?
I was just curious to know, going back to the walks, if there's a fee that you charge for those, or you ask for donations, or are these just free?
Excellent question.
Yes.
All the programs that we do are completely free. So you're welcome to come along on the walks. There's no charge. In fact, most of the events that we do, we have either a little raffle or there might be a giveaway for something. So I know on the walks, sometimes they have a raffle for special kind of foot cream. On the bike rides I do, we have a little raffle. You get a, if you show up, you get a ticket. There's no money involved. And we give away things like, patch kits, water bottles, even a set of lights for your bike. So there's some nice incentives to come out.
Oh, great.
One thing I wanted to just mention really briefly is that we also do classes they're co-educational classes. So Women on Bikes program has classes just for women, but we also have the Portland Bicycle series of classes, and those will start up again in September. And they'll cover things like how to ride in all seasons, preparing for the wet weather, how to carry groceries or other things, so you can learn to shop by bike and actually get a fair amount home.
So if a person wants to find out about these presentations that you're doing, they can go to your website, and then is it kind of user-friendly?
It's getting more and more user-friendly. And I also encourage you, if you'd like, you can call me directly, and if I can give that phone number, it's
Yes, you can, please.
503-823-7699. So 823-7699. That goes right to my desk, and I'll be happy to answer your question or find the person who's got the answer for your question.
Do you have other questions or comments, Lori? I think we've lost her, so thank you very much for that. Now, you have presentations for community events and outreach, and one of those things is Brown Bag, which you're going to give us some information on in detail. So just briefly, what is the Brown Bag, and then what are the other events that, the community events that we're talking about, just some of the recent ones that folks can relate to?
All right. Well, the Brown Bags were basically a follow-up because we held a City of Portland Bicycle Summit a year ago June, and a lot of people turned out. We had over 400 people. We talked about all kinds of things, from the bike industry to recreational cycling, mountain biking, a whole series of issues for folks who bike in Portland. And we realized that folks wanted to continue the conversation. So every month on the third Thursday from noon to 1 at the Portland building, which is 1120 Southwest 5th at Madison Street, we hold a brown bag lunch, meaning you bring your own lunch, but we'll have a topic. Usually we think it's interesting to folks. This week, actually, we're doing a special presentation called I Share the Path, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay.
We also do presentations at community events. So this last weekend I was at the Woodstock Community Fair. We go to businesses if they ask. We go to community groups. So we try to bring the information where people need it.
Recently, we had the Seattle to Portland bike ride, which was the STP. Did you have any involvement in that?
Sad to say no. I was working on Saturday at the Woodstock Street Fair, but I did get to talk to some folks who did it, and it sounds like they had a great ride.
How about you, Ann?
I was pretty involved working at the STP finish line, and we had 9,000 bicyclists using, what Portland has developed, bringing them in on Highway 30 and across the Broadway Bridge and up the bike lanes and things. So we got onto your paths and things to get them into the holiday park.
Great.
So there is some kind of spirit of cooperation, regardless whether you're directly involved or you have to contact their office in order to make arrangements for things. Is that what I'm hearing?
They probably got permits to use the park and that sort of thing, but yeah, I mean, the roads are open to the public.
So would you consider the event a success?
Absolutely. I think it's a great way to showcase Portland, to bring a lot of the riders are from Seattle, and to bring them on in through our city that way.
Now, in regards to some of the riding around Portland, you showed us one map, and you had some other maps and materials you wanted to show our viewers.
Well, one map that's really kind of fun. This is something that we designed especially for the bridge pedal. In fact, you can see a picture of the Fremont Bridge. The BTA puts on, well, actually, I'm sorry, the bridge pedal is an annual event which crosses all the bridges in Portland. And so every year we're up on the Fremont Bridge letting people know about the services that we offer, and we usually have a little giveaway. And so this is one of them. And it's the entire city that fits into your pocket. You can just unfold it, and you have, here's the southern half of Portland, and you can see it's got all the bike routes marked. So we do a lot of maps that have color coding. You'll see off-street paths are in purple and low traffic streets are in green. So you can look at the map and find a nice mellow way to get
I
where
wanted
you're
to
going.
mention something about the bridge pedal, that on August 7th I will be conducting a clinic at REI at the streets of Tannisbourne and Hillsborough, and at that clinic we'll talk about how to successfully get through your first bridge pedal ride. So for any of those of you that might be interested, you can check on REI's website and you'll see that on there, and we'd sure welcome you to come out. And so what other kinds of materials do you have for us?
One of the other things that I work on are walking maps, and these are specifically designed to show features that people need when they're walking. Now, like I mentioned before, walking doesn't require as much training as biking, for example. But we find that there are a lot of things that are helpful to have in a map. For example, this map shows all the street names, all the parks, all the schools, all the bus lines. So one thing that we encourage is that obviously it may be pretty slow to walk to work, but you can choose to walk, say, not to the nearest bus stop, but maybe to a couple bus stops down the street. Get in a little bit of exercise there, ride to work, and then on the way home, maybe walk a few bus stops further than you normally would, so you get in some exercise, get to enjoy the fresh air, get on the bus and make it back. So by combining these ways of getting around, you can both save money, which is always helpful, but you can also find that you get to improve your health and feel more fit.
Now, is there any kind of a map like on the internet, kind of like MapQuest, but for bicyclists?
Very good question. There is a website called bycycle.org, and that's www.bycycle.org. So they are essentially what you suggest, like a MapQuest for bikes. And you can put in an address and say that that's where I want to start, and put in another address and say that's where I want to get to. And what the computer does is figure out the route along the routes that we've designated in our bike maps, showing low traffic streets or streets with bike lanes or off-street paths, places that are more comfortable for a cyclist, and we'll help you figure out the route that way.
I noticed that on this one map it says free. Now, is that true of all of the materials you've shown us so far?
Well, we decided free is a really good price.
Aha.
So
Yes,
we decided to keep it very simple. Everything that we offer is free. So I encourage everyone to take a look at www.gettingaroundportland.org. There's a whole list of all the walk maps, bike maps. You can take a look at them online. You can email us and we'll send you whatever you think you can use. And when we go to events such as community fairs or on our rides or walks, we'll also have maps there, so folks can ask for them if they come and join us at one of the events.
We were going to have a 30-second clip of our sponsor for tonight, but we don't have that film with us, unfortunately. But I'd like to thank Monto's Public House again. They're located at Walker Road and 158th in Beaverton. If you get a chance to stop in there, whether you go by car or by bicycle, it's one of my bicycling destinations. Please go in and say hello to Sal and Larry, and say hello to that wonderful crew they have there. And as we said in the beginning of the show, we really enjoyed that fine meal that they donated to our crew tonight.
It was delicious, I have to say.
Yes, and you know what? We still haven't had dessert yet.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
wow.
looking forward to it.
Now, why is the city of Portland a great city to bicycle in?
Well, there's a few different reasons. And working for the Office of Transportation, I'd like to take responsibility for all of them, but really we have to start with the fact that living in the Portland area, we're very fortunate. We have a very mild climate. We do get some rain, but it's fairly moderate. We don't have a lot of extreme temperatures. We don't have to deal with weeks of frozen cold. You get a cold snap every once in a while, but usually it's fairly comfortable if you learn to layer. We don't have a lot of hills, although on the west side there are more, and on the east side you can find some places. But generally speaking, it's a pretty good terrain. Portland also has a very compact development structure, meaning places are close together. Downtown of Portland, I live almost 82nd Avenue, and it takes me about a half an hour to get to work by bicycle. When I drove, it would take me about a half an hour to get to work by bicycle. You have to park, you have to get from your car. And what I found was that half hour that I'm riding my bike to work, I'm feeling happier. I'm getting fresh air, I'm feeling the endorphins. Occasionally I have to stop at a traffic light or find a traffic jam too, but I find it a much more relaxing way to get to work. And then after work, it's a very relaxing way to work off the tension of being, at a desk. If my work day kept me at the desk all day, then it's
Right.
good to be able to stretch out.
It's a little difficult to be stressed out while riding your bicycle. Now, you don't live in the city of Portland, so what's
No.
your biking experience during the week?
Well, I live in Vancouver, and I work on Macadam in Portland, so I drive a car.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Like you said once a long time ago, that you don't advocate turning your car in for a bicycle, you just advocate riding your bicycle and
Yes.
having fun.
Yes.
So you basically ride for recreation?
Yes, and mostly on the weekends, and boy, on a summer evening, when the days are long, what a better way to spend a summer evening than doing one of the City of Portland's rides, or just any ride that you can find. We had the iBike 205 on Friday, when we learned how to negotiate the new Max rail along I-205, and that was a great ride. That was a fun Friday evening. There's lots of biking to do in Portland.
I have to say Portland's kind of a unique place because TriMet did put on a great party, the iBike 205 event, and where else would you have a celebration of the fact that they have to close down an off-street path?
That things are dug up and
Right.
we've got a detour now.
Yeah.
But they were very
All
helpful.
over.
They gave a party, they gave folks an incentive, they gave us free dinner, and they said, come on out and see how you're going to be able to get around without the path. We have to take the path out of service for, a couple of years, but we're putting in a new light rail line, and then folks who live in that area will have a much better connection.
Yeah.
So, we encourage all modes. Some trips you just need to take a car. Some trips you don't have to. So we encourage folks to find what's the best way to get around for that particular trip.
Now,
that
you
they
talk
make.
about proactive government being involved with the Good Bikeways Network and all the growing that's going on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, aside from the beautiful physical landscape that we enjoy here in the Portland area, the city of Portland had a very forward-looking bicycle program in the 90s where they really looked at the city, created a bicycle master plan as part of the transportation master plan, and plotted out where can we add bike facilities. And I'm using a technical term here. Bike facility could be anything from a bike lane to an off-street path, or different kinds of things that we do to neighborhood streets to make them more bike-friendly, such as speed bumps is one way, putting in traffic circles is another way. And what we find is that when you make a street feel more comfortable for someone to ride a bike on, it's usually more comfortable for one of the local neighbors to walk their kids on as well.
So when we say comfortable, we're referring to safer as well.
Exactly, because the thing that folks get most anxious about is the speed of cars around them. Cars are a great invention, but they also are kind of big and heavy and move really fast.
Yeah.
And if you're walking or riding your bike, it can be intimidating. So for a period before my current job, I worked on the city's traffic and livability hotline, the 823 SAFE number. And folks call into that when they have issues in their neighborhood about traffic. And the number one issue is folks are speeding on my street. And what we try to do is design the street system so that there are, arterial roads, there are big streets that cars can go on and get places fast, but that there are neighborhood streets where someone can feel safe walking with their kids to school, or that their mother who is retired feels safe walking to the store. So what we find is when we do things to make the streets feel safer for bicycles by lowering the speeds of cars, it makes the pedestrian environment also feel more comfortable.
In case you are just tuning in, this is Northwest Bicycle Safety Council's Northwest Cycling Show. Our guest is Timo Forsberg from the City of Portland Office of Transportation. My co-host, and hopefully she will do some other shows with us, is Ann Morrow from Portland Wheelman Touring Club. She's a ride leader, resides in the Vancouver area, but also works and rides in the Portland area. Also would like to thank Monto's Public House again for providing us with a wonderful meal. They donated that meal to our crew, and we wanted to thank them as well. Now, we talk about biking is fun, and it makes you feel good. Now, convince our viewers of that. Now, you just said it makes you feel good. Convince our viewers of how it's going to make them feel good. What would you suggest?
Well, most people probably remember back to being a kid, having at least a tricycle. Many folks learn how to bike, as a youngster, maybe as a teen, and it's a great moment when you're a child realizing you can get places on your own. And so there are a number of stories that we hear from folks saying, I remember when I was 12 and I got on my bike and I went down the street to the swimming pool by myself, and I felt so empowered. I didn't have to wait for my parents to drive me over there and drop me off. And so what we find is that when folks start riding a bike again as an adult, they start to rediscover that. Now, as an adult, you also have other considerations. You probably have a job, you might have kids, you have errands to run. And so what we try to do is offer education to folks and offer the material so they can figure out, maybe I can get my kid to school by bike. I know many people who either have a trail-along bike, have a trailer where the kid sits in the back, or when my son was probably 9, we started just riding across town to his school by bike, and I would keep a close eye on him, but he got to be a very competent rider. And, so once you do ride, especially if you get to ride in an environment that feels safe, you really learn how fun it is. And when I say an environment that feels safe, that's what we try to create with our rides, both the Women on Bike rides and the Portland Bicycle rides. We try to have, they're group rides, they're very low pressure, we don't try to speed, you don't have to wear any special clothes, you don't have to have a fancy bike. Some people start out and then they get to the point where they really want to have that fast bike and they want to have all the good gear. But really, all you need is a bike and I would add a helmet.
We have a caller on the line. Caller, can you state your name, please?
No. It reminds me of a time that goes right back in the time. Every once in a while I go, what do you think of that, Mr. System? Mr. System, and Mr. System will bring down the newspaper.
I don't know what's going
Sounds all
to
right.
be, but that's not our caller.
Fall apart loud.
We'll try.
I wonder how I put this
anyway.
on speakerphone.
Okay, so why don't people ride their bikes?
Well, there are a few different reasons. In fact, we had a brown bag just last month reviewing some polling data and focus group data that we looked at. And the number one reason is practicalities like time and distance. It would take too long to get someplace, or it's too far.
Right.
And then there are other things like they need to carry a lot of cargo. Maybe someone has heavy things that they need to carry with them, or they have passengers they need to take. And sometimes those are very real. Sometimes you have to take your table saw to your work site. And sometimes if you're going a 30-mile trip, riding the bike may not be the best way to get there.
Right.
But what we find also is that people tend to overestimate the difficulty. I ride about 6 miles to work. And when I first started riding to work, that seemed pretty intimidating. It seemed like that would be a long time. It's going to take me forever. I don't know if I'll get to work on time. And one thing we encourage is don't start by riding to work. When you get to that point, it's great. But start by riding to the store on a Saturday.
Right.
Start by going to a park with your kids or your parents or a friend. Do something that's already relaxed and you can fit the biking in. And then you'll start to see, that park is 20 blocks away and it only took me like 6 minutes to get there.
Right.
You start to see, this, it is easy. It's a matter of making the choice every day. Basically, we tend to build our lives in a certain habit. When I first moved into my house, I drove to my house to move in, and I drove to work the next day, and the next day after that, it was just easy to keep driving because I knew how to do it.
Right.
Whereas getting on my bike, it was a little scary. So sometimes it's just making that choice and then seeing that it's okay, that you can do it.
I'd like to take an opportunity to mention to our viewers that we are having difficulty with our phones. I noticed that calls are coming in, but we're not able to get them transferred out here to the set. But please bear with us. I hope we can get that problem resolved. So, safety, a bigger problem than reality?
Well, a lot of folks, if they're not used to biking, may start with some anxiety. If you're used to driving, you're used to having a fairly big protective shell around you. But again, if you start out, for example, with either very calm and easy-paced ride, maybe with a friend, just going to the store on a low-traffic street, you can see that really most of the people who pass you in a car will give you plenty of room. And you find that there are ways to choose a route where there's not going to be a lot of traffic, and our maps are there to help you do that. And then our classes show you by riding with other people that you can find routes, you can learn how to cross intersections that might be busy streets, but find the best way to do that so that you're not having to have too many conflicts with traffic. Biking really overall is safer per trip than driving. It's one thing that we kind of forget is that driving, although we do it every day, has some safety risks.
So all in all, it's just kind of making some choices and setting maybe some little goals and overcoming some of that fear with maybe some shorter rides in your own neighborhood, reaching out a little bit.
Exactly. It's and just as you said, having a little, I say baby steps. I ride to work every day now, but I didn't start that way. I started with easy rides on the weekend, and I tried a weekend ride to my workplace to see could I do it? How long will it take me? Will I be too tired when I get there? And it seemed fine. So I tried it during a weekday, and I got to work, and it worked out. And so for a long time, I would ride maybe one day a week to work. And then I would ride a couple days a week. And then I started noticing when I drove to work, all the traffic and things were making me more anxious, and I didn't feel that way when I rode my bike, so it kind of convinced me.
Well, I remember my first ride was about 2 miles, and I was really excited about accomplishing that. We're going to try to get another caller through. Can you state your name, please?
Because obviously nobody's watching. It's at 7:30 of an hour-long show. They're calling me half this room. They probably
we're
have a half
not
hour
able to
intro.
hear that caller. Sorry.
And then,
We'll go ahead and
what do you
move
do for
on.
now?
In case you just tuned in and you see that there is a number to call in on your screen, we are having some technical difficulty with the telephones. I noticed that calls have been coming in, but we just haven't been able to get them through to the studio. I guess we're going to get close now to where we're going to play a movie, but that's not yet. I know the director showed me the DVD, but we're not ready for that just yet. So how do we prepare for a good cycling experience in Portland? That's one of the main topics.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say the essential thing to do is make sure that you have a bike available. So many people already have a bike in their garage or in their basement, and if you haven't ridden it lately, it's probably a great bike. You may want to do just what I call the 2-minute tune-up, which is pump up the tires and put a little lube on the chain. What a lot of folks don't necessarily realize is that tires, because they're made out of rubber, they lose air over time, and so if a bike's been sitting even over the winter, maybe you rode it last fall and then it's been sitting and now it's spring and you take it out again, it's such a difference if you ride with a fully inflated tire. You can try it sometime. Ride with with a poorly inflated tire and then pump it up. You feel like you've got a sports car underneath you. It's just such a difference. And just putting a little bit of chain lube on. A lot of bike shops, you can go down there and just say, I've got my bike here. I haven't ridden in a while. And most bike shops are really friendly. They'll either pump up your tires or show you where the pump is,
Yes.
and they'll offer you a little chain lube, and it's such a difference. So just simple things like that can make a big improvement on how much you enjoy your ride. I would also, again, recommend getting maps such as these from the city of Portland. We have them for just about every neighborhood and also for the full city, and taking a look to find a good low traffic route. Also, there's a few. Well, as I mentioned before, a helmet, always a great idea. My theory about helmets is if you're not wearing a helmet, what have you got to lose?
Planning your route seems to be a very important part of that. Now, for those who haven't ridden in group rides, and maybe you haven't ridden much at all, Anne has a series of rides called family rides. And can you go over your schedule a little bit and tell us about some of those rides and how people would connect to them?
Well, yes, we've got the family rides are starting at the end of this month of July 22nd and 28th, and I'm going to be leading a lot of the rides, but we've got several ride leaders. And these are exactly the kind of rides you're talking about. They're short rides. They tend to utilize Portland's bike paths rather than being out on the streets, which may be a little intimidating for the really new rider. They tend to go on the bike paths, like Springwater on the Willamette. The first one I'm going to lead is the Peninsula Crossing bike path. So I'm going to take people down to the Smith and Bybee Lakes. These rides are not just bicycle rides, but they're to explore the city and see the sights and take time to stop and look around and see what all is going on. And artwork is in place around the city to look at on these paths as well. There's one big ride in September that's around Sovie's Island, which is a very favorite place for many people to ride. So that's the kind of rides that we do. And along with this topic, in my opinion, if you're not having fun on a bike ride, take a minute to stop and think, why? Why am I not having fun on this bike ride? Does my bike not work right? Did I not eat, so I'm hungry and tired? Am I not drinking water, so I'm thirsty and can't ride? Kind of have some introspection and try to figure it out, because riding your bike should be a lot of fun.
Now, this show is going to run quite a few times between now and August. So can you give our viewers some of the dates that you're going to have these rides, and how long the ride is, and how do they get the information about the ride?
Sure. I'll kind of start from the end
Start
then.
start from the beginning if you like.
We have flyers out at some of the bike shops, but on the web you can go to pwtc.com. That's for Portland Wheelman Touring Club. pwtc.com has the schedule on the internet, and then also at River City Bicycles, that schedule is on the internet. So you can get the schedules there. The rides are most weekends in July and August, and a few in September and October, trying to hit the good weather. And the rides are all pretty much out and back except for Sovie Island. So if the ride is maybe 8-9 miles long, you can turn around and go back anytime. If things aren't working right, if the bike isn't working, if you overestimated your ability, you can just turn around and go back. Otherwise, they're very short, mostly less than 10 miles. Again, Soviet Island is the big ride around the island thing, but even that is very flat, and it involves the pumpkin patch, and so there's lots of activities for children just before Halloween. So it's the end of September, so it's a lot of fun.
And I noticed that not all of them are in Portland. Kind of give you an idea of the schedule. Sunday, July 22nd, you have the end of the Springwater Trail, and that's an 8-mile ride.
Yes.
For example. Then you mentioned the Bybee Lakes, which is an 8-mile one. Columbia River Bike Path. Now, is that both sides of the river on this 9-mile ride that's going to take place August 5th?
No, that's in our Vancouver.
Ah.
That's just on the north side of the Columbia. Vancouver isn't keeping up with Portland, but boy, we're sure trying. And we've got some bike paths to show off too.
And where does that ride start from?
It starts at Marine Park, which is kind of down between the Glen Jackson and the Interstate Bridge. And then it will go into the Esther Short Park area in Vancouver and back.
So we said end of Springwater Trail on one, and then on August 11th, we have Springwater on the Willamette. What's the difference? And that, I see, is a 7-mile ride as opposed to the 8-mile ride. What's the difference?
Well, the end of the Springwater Trail is the end of the Springwater Trail out by Gresham.
Oh,
whereas
yeah,
the Springwater on the Willamette is in town on the Willamette. So for those that aren't familiar with the Springwater Trail, this is a way to kind of get a little taste of it, and maybe as you get a little more expert, you can do the whole route on your own.
So if our viewers tune in again on our next show in August, then they can get the rest of the schedule and also be reminded how they can connect to these rides by going on to the website at www.pwtc.com, which is the Portland Wheelman Touring Club.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for that. And so, Timo, we're talking about bike routes and bike lanes and low traffic streets. That all sounds well and good. I live out in a rural area. What do I do there? Any recommendations?
Well, I can recommend a couple of things. For folks who live in rural areas of Portland, or City of Portland maps will cover that. There's also another great map called Bike There, which is produced by Metro, the regional government, and that covers all the way from Gresham to Hillsborough and north and south. So that map has similar color coding for low traffic streets, streets with bike lanes, off-street paths. So that's a great resource. Now that one, Metro puts it out, they put a lot of work into it. It costs $6.
Uh-huh.
You go to a bike shop, almost all the bike shops will have it, and it's a great map. I would also recommend finding a bike shop near you and just going in and talking with the folks and saying, you know, I'm interested in recreational rides, for example, and they will generally have lots of information. They'll have information about local clubs and that sort of thing. Or if you come in and say, you know, I want to start thinking about maybe commuting to work one day a week, they'll have information about that as well.
We have another caller. We're going to try again. Caller, can you state your name, please?
Well, it sounds like
it's
Julie.
We don't. It says that we have a caller. Her name is Julie, and since we couldn't get her call through, someone put it on the teleprompter, which I think is great. The caller question is, Julie is moving from Boulder to Portland and needs to get information on riding in Portland. Now, we have been talking a little bit about that, and I'll let you field that one.
Well, first, welcome, Julie. You made a great decision. Moving to Portland's a great place to ride. Obviously, checking out the Wheelman's site is a great way to find club rides. And as I understand, the Wheelmen have a whole range of different levels and lengths of ride. Also going to our website at the city, gettingaroundportland.org, and following the links to bike rides. I have a quick link up there, you click on it, and there's a whole list of other clubs as well. Another great resource in Portland is a website called bikeportland.org. And that is a blog about all things bicycle related in Portland. It's I think of it as the New York Times of bicycling in Portland. It's really the website of record.
That's Jonathan Moss, and he puts that on and keeps people informed pretty much.
Jonathan Moss does an amazing job. He covers the waterfront, the mountainside, and everything in between. He'll have things about road racing. He'll have things about commuting by bike. He's got an article about the brown bag that we're doing this week, and another, we're doing actually 2 events, both a brown bag and a Saturday event called I Share the Path, talking about the fact that our off-street paths, like the Esplanade, East Bank Esplanade and Waterfront Park in Portland, like the Springwater Trail, are so beautiful. They're very popular. We have cyclists, we have pedestrians, we have folks strolling, we have folks rollerblading, and as they get more and more popular, we need to learn to be better sharers of the road. And in this case, we're learning to share the path and just be courteous with each other. So at these events, we're going to talk about how to do that.
Well, thank you, Julie. The next caller is Dan, and he stated that he is dating a girl who is into mountain biking, and he is a novice. So what can you suggest for a novice for nice rides in Portland area? I would like for you to field that because we talked about these family rides, but we have welcome rides and some other types of rides through the Portland Wheelman. Can you help Dan out with that?
Well, I think so. I mean, I would recommend Forest Park. That's just for he and his girlfriend to go riding on. But one of my rides actually in October is the Banks Vernonia Bike Trail, and it's a great mountain bike area. But the family rides are good for mountain bikes. They're short, you know, they're not mountain bike trails, but they're short and get a feel of how you're doing on the bike and what kind of shape you're in and that sort of thing. I think the family rides would be good to come out on with the mountain bike.
And I would also suggest Google mountain bike bicycle clubs because they are out there, and you might find a group that can get you around some of these trails. I don't know if you like downhill and all that sort of thing, but there's a ride for everyone out there, whether you're riding on the road or riding by mountain bike. Would you agree?
Oh, sure. In fact, in Portland, there's a group called PUMP, the Portland Urban Mountain Peddlers. And they've got a website which I can't quote to you offhand, I'm sorry, but if you Google Portland Urban Mountain Peddlers, you'll find them pretty easily. And in fact, one of their stalwart members is a stalwart volunteer on our Portland bicycle rides. And so he brings a lot of knowledge with him when he comes.
Well, we're at a point where we want to play your movie. And we did say in the beginning of the show that we were going to show a little short film on moving by bicycle. Now, while they set that up, can you tell us briefly what are we going to see?
Well, a good friend of mine, Aileen Crotty, who used to work for the Community Cycling Center, now works for Or Bike, which is a group that does bike rides and events. She was moving from a house that she shared with some folks to her own house. And so I said to her, you know, Aileen, you got a lot of friends with bike trailers and bikes, and let's just take care of it for you. So
I saw this thing and I couldn't believe it. Let me know when you guys are ready to roll that. You can start anytime. I just couldn't believe what I saw.
Looks like we're getting pretty close here. Got a bike move. You got a bike move. You got a bike, so you gotta move. I'm just here to provide the bike move impetus. You know, when Aileen posted on the list, she said thanks to Timo for making sure that it happened, because she wasn't going to do the bike move. She was like, I'll get some trucks. And I was like, Aileen, you must do the bike move.
Yeah, we're all prepared. We're getting it all in one load. That's pretty impressive.
More people show up than you usually need, and it's great fun. And also, as you're riding around, it's cool to see people react. Pedestrians and drivers just are amazed to see the stream of bikes going by with a household in them.
Am I ready for the move? I'm always ready for any bike excitement that goes on in the city of Portland.
I just want to see if you can see something.
Are you worried?
I'm worried about him being able to see over the seats. You can see okay, but you're going to want someone else.
So how many moves have you participated in?
This is probably the fourth or fifth, something like that.
And do you know what you'll be carrying today?
Well, I had that little trailer over there with the orange thing on it. I have some boxes.
I'm carrying, I don't even know, tools, a table, chair.
I moved myself by bike once, but that was just me, and it took a lot of trips, and it wasn't as much fun. It felt really cool. I was like, I moved all my shit by bike. Yeah. I don't need anybody.
You have pillows, blankets, and files.
No, I have a computer and some steel and a few bricks.
Oh, I can't believe it. Now, I want to know, since you were in that film, did that woman move that boat all the way to the other house?
No, the boat was just a joke, actually.
Oh. I kind of wondered about that. Said, I can't wait till I have you sitting here to ask you about that.
Everything else was done for real.
But
the boat
can you
was.
believe that? I mean, just, has this been done before? Is this something new?
Well, it started, as far as I know, in Portland. At least in Portland, it started with another friend named Emily who was moving. She just had a room in an apartment. So she didn't have very much, and we had several people come. But she had a bed, she had a TV, a very large TV. You know, she had several boxes of books, and so there were 15 or more people with trailers there. And you know, the great thing about a move by bike is that when you have that many people, it goes really quickly. You know, normally it's you and your friend loading up a U-Haul, and you drive someplace, and it's you and your friend unloading it, and it takes forever, and you're tired, and you're cranky. With a bike move, you have 15 or 20 people. They're moving everything. Once you get to your destination, everything's moved in, and you start eating pizza and having a frosty adult beverage, and you know, life is good.
So when you're ready to move your household, call Timo. He knows how to get you down the road with some pedal power. And speaking of pedal power, like to offer this to our viewers as a way to get caught up on some of the bike laws and road etiquette that are going on in the state of Oregon. This book is put out by Ray Thomas. It can be obtained through his website, which you can get through Northwest Bicycle Safety Council's website, or you can pick it up at Powell Books. They have some there. You can download this as well. In order to have an enjoyable experience and a safe ride, you should at least know some of the basic laws regarding bicyclists and bicyclist rights. The Oregon Bicycle Manual is a free manual that you can get through the Oregon Department of Transportation, or you can contact Northwest Bicycle Safety Council at the website on your screen, and we will send you out one free of charge. These are free no matter where you pick them up. The other thing I would like to offer is that motorists, if you haven't read the Oregon's Driver's Manual in a while, I know that that's easy to do, because if your driver's license was renewed for 10 years and you haven't looked at the laws in 10 years, they have changed. But in this manual, they're not only the motor vehicle laws, but you will find some bicycle laws in here. That way it will prevent you from being out there and guessing. So we have some of those things to think about in being safe on our bikes. You mentioned bike maintenance and some of the things you could do. We only have just a few minutes left, and I would like to get a 30-second reaction from each of you on this little card that's put out. It's called a Quick Check, that's put out by the League of American Bicyclists. If I say A is for air.
You want to keep those tires inflated.
And B is for brakes.
You want to make sure that they're nice and supple rubber, not stones.
C is for crank chains and cassettes. Keep them clean, lubed, and make sure you get your bike tuned up. And quick is for quick release.
You want to make sure that the skewers that's holding your wheels onto your bike are tight.
Yes, and we're going to check over the bike to make sure it is safe.
Yes, in
Okay.
operating condition
In
and
good
ready
operating
to go.
condition.
Mhm.
I was checking to make sure I was correct about that, just in case you were wondering. Wasn't trying to put you on the
Yeah.
spot. We just have a couple of minutes to go. I think I'm getting the 2-minute warning right now, or do I still have about 3 minutes? I'd like to remind our viewers that you are responsible for your own safety. You need to know the law in order to obey the law. Road etiquette is important. Share the road. Look out for one another so we can all have a safe experience on the road. I would like to thank my guest and our co-host, who I think will be joining us again, Ann Morrow. And I'd like to offer you a copy of Ray Thomas's legal guide called Pedal Power as a token of our appreciation. And Timo, as a token of our appreciation, one of the sponsors of our bicycle safety programs and skills rodeos for kids is the Beaverton Optimist Club. And I'd like to offer you this plaque that's on a tile with the Beaverton Optimist Creed. And it's generally some pretty good words to live by, and I'd like to offer that to you as a token of our appreciation.
Well, thank you very much.
And so do you have 30, 45-second parting words for our viewers?
Well, I just encourage you to try getting out on your bike. If you need any assistance at all, feel free to go to our website, gettingaroundportland.org, or feel free to give me a call at the city, 823-7699, and be happy to get you whatever information you need.
I would like to thank our sponsors, and we have about under a minute left to go. And I'd like to thank our guests again. I'd like to thank TVC TV, our show crew, and DW Productions, and our director, Dennis Gleason. Thank you very much for tuning in.